Today I'm going to expose this spoiled rich brat so badly in front of everyone that even his mommy's money won't be able to buy his dignity back.
Only thing getting exposed in my courtroom today is your rotten parenting and his pathetic excuse for character.
Listen, you arrogant little shit. Today I'm going to drag your spoiled rich ass so hard in front of everyone that your mommy's filthy money won't save your sorry face or your fake respect.
If you think money can shield you from every bad decision, wait till you see what happened to this 17-year-old when he tried to clown Judge Judy, and his own mother turned into the star witness against him. The courtroom doors swing open, and in strolls Brandon Pierce like he's walking into a VIP lounge, not a televised courtroom. He's 17, from one of the most exclusive suburbs in Connecticut, and every inch of him screams money and zero accountability. He's wrapped in a designer hoodie that costs more than most people's entire outfit, rocking limited edition sneakers that resell for rent money prices, and wearing the permanent smirk of someone who has never truly heard the word no. He doesn't scan the room with worry or respect. He looks around like he's bored already. Like this is just another annoying appointment his parents' lawyers forgot to cancel. Behind him is his mother, Linda Pierce. Mid-40s, professionally polished. A tailored suit that could pay someone's mortgage. Heels that probably never touch anything but marble floors and luxury carpets. She's gripping a designer handbag so tight her knuckles are practically translucent. At first glance, she looks like every other corporate power mom. But her eyes tell a different story. There's panic there. A tremor of someone who knows something ugly is about to surface and can't stop it. On the opposite side of the courtroom stands 72-year-old Patricia Hoffman. Small, dignified, and clearly out of her comfort zone. She clutches a thick manila folder to her chest like it's a life raft. A retired schoolteacher living on a fixed income. She doesn't have Brandon's money, but she has something else. 3 decades of memories tied to the photographs in that folder. And a calm, quiet rage that no amount of cash can buy away. The case? On paper, it sounds simple. Patricia is suing Brandon for $2,800 in property damage. But what those formal words don't show is how personal this is. 3 weeks earlier, Brandon decided to take advantage of his parents' absence. While Mr. and Mrs. Pierce were at some black tie charity event, rubbing elbows and trading donations like social currency, their estate became ground zero for a wild, unsupervised teenage party, 40-plus kids. Expensive liquor someone's big brother borrowed. Music so loud the neighbors called the police, twice. And in the middle of all that chaos, Brandon got bored. Bored rich kids are dangerous. He hopped into the family's golf cart because, of course, they have one, and decided it would be hilarious to tear through the neighborhood like it was his personal racetrack. Laughing, yelling, showing off, he swerved off the street, across the curb, and straight into Patricia Hoffman's garden. This wasn't just any garden. Patricia had spent 30 years molding that piece of land into something beautiful. Her late husband helped her plant those heirloom roses long before cancer took him from her 15 years ago. Each flower bed wasn't just plants and soil. It was memory, grief, healing. It was the last project they ever worked on together. Every morning, she walked that garden the way some people visit a grave quietly, tenderly, keeping him alive in the colors and the scent of those roses. One night, one drunk joyride, and decades of work turned into shredded stems and muddy tire tracks. The photos in her folder show a before that looks like a magazine spread lush blooms. A hand-laid stone path, neat beds overflowing with carefully tended life. The after photos look like a crime scene. Roses snapped and ground into dirt, the stone walkway cracked. Flower beds gouged out like someone attacked them with a machine. For Patricia, it wasn't just damage. It was desecration. Brandon, though, as he stands at the defendant's table, slouched, hands stuffed in his hoodie pocket, he looks like this whole thing is a joke. Like he can't believe they dragged him out of bed for some flowers. His posture screams contempt for the court, for the woman suing him, for the entire idea that his actions might mean anything. His mother stands just behind him, shoulders slightly hunched like she wants to disappear into the floor. Up close, you'd see her fingers trembling around the purse strap. She knows this isn't just a garden case. This is years of parenting choices. All lined up and waiting to be judged alongside her son Dot at the bench sits Judge Judy, small in size, enormous in presence. Those eyes that have dissected thousands of liars and fools sharpen as she takes in the scene, the elderly woman holding her folder as if it's her last weapon, the mother, overgroomed and understudy, and the teenager who thought dressing like he's about to hit the mall was acceptable for court. Her gaze lands on Brandon's hoodie. His sneakers, the way he leans on the table like he's at detention instead of in front of a judge. She notices every bored glance toward his friends in the gallery, every smirk, every whisper. She also notices Patricia's shaking hands and the grief carved into the lines of her face. Then her eyes flick briefly to Linda, reading the guilt and fear there like an open book. No one in that room knows it yet, but what's about to happen will turn this from a simple property damage claim into one of the most unforgettable courtroom moments anyone there has ever seen, because Brandon Pierce didn't just underestimate an elderly neighbor. He underestimated Judge Judy, and most of all, he underestimated his own mother. He walked into that courtroom convinced that, just like every other mess he's created, this one would end with a signature on a check and a stern lecture that he could laugh about later. He had no idea that Linda Pierce, the same woman who's spent his entire life cushioning his falls with money and influence, was about to stop being his shield and start being the hammer. Her testimony wouldn't just confirm he wrecked a garden. It would drag into the light years of entitled behavior, secret settlements, and a chilling pattern that made the whole courtroom ask the same question. What happens when money raises a monster? If you're still watching, don't even think about clicking away, because the way this entitled kid chooses to talk to Judge Judy right to her face will make your jaw drop. And when his own mother finally stops and exposes everything, what Judge Judy does next might be the most satisfying justice you've heard all week. The bailiff calls the case, and the low buzz in the courtroom dies instantly. Cameras lock in. You can almost feel the tension tighten like a wire. Judge Judy doesn't waste a second. She peers over her glasses at Brandon, voice flat and cutting. "Good morning, Mr. Pierce. You are here because Mrs. Hoffman is suing you for $2,800 in property damage. I want to hear your version of what happened 3 weeks ago at your house. Start talking." Brandon doesn't straighten up. He doesn't look nervous. He rolls one shoulder in a lazy half shrug, like she just asked him why he was late to class. It was just a party, he says, dragging out the words. There were some people over, music, whatever. And look, it's just some flowers, okay? She's acting like I burned her house down. Old people freak out over everything. Gardens grow back. You could hear the shift in the room. A couple of people in the audience suck in a breath. Patricia's lips press together, but she stays silent. Brandon keeps going, digging himself deeper without even realizing it. And anyway, I wasn't even the one driving for most of it. There were like 40 people there. Could have been anyone. My parents already offered like $500 to make it go away. That's more than enough for some plants. Judge Judy's eyebrows lift a fraction of an inch. That tiny move every fan of the show knows means you just stepped in it. She turns to Patricia. "Mrs. Hoffman, tell me about these some plants." Patricia opens her folder, her fingers unsteady. Her voice, though soft, carries clearly across the room. "Your Honor, I've lived next door to the Pierce family for over 20 years. That garden, that was my sanctuary. My husband and I started it together when we first moved in. He passed away 15 years ago, but I kept it going. Those weren't just regular roses. Some of them were heirloom varieties. I can't just order them online. I've spent 30 years tending them." She hands photos to the bailiff, who delivers them to the bench. Before they even reach Judge Judy's hands, the contrast between the before and after pictures gets whispers from the gallery. In the before shots, the garden looks like a painting, arches of roses in full bloom, carefully pruned bushes, bright clusters of flowers lining a perfectly laid stone path. The after photos look like someone drove a small tank through it. Tire tracks slice straight through the beds, uprooted plants lie crushed, petals and leaves smeared into mud. Sections of the stone path are cracked and shifted. I'm retired, Patricia continues, voice trembling. I live on a fixed income. I don't have the money to hire people to fix this. Some of these roses were gifts from my husband before he died. I go out there every morning. It made me feel like he wasn't so far away. While she speaks, Brandon is half turned toward his mother, whispering something. He covers his mouth with his hand, but the smirk peeking out beneath it says everything. At one point, he lets out a short laugh. Judge Judy's head snaps toward him. Mr. Pierce, she says sharply. Is something amusing? Brandon quickly drops his hand, rearranging his face into fake innocence. No, Your Honor. I'm listening, he says, leaning back in his chair with exaggerated attentiveness. She's not buying it, but she continues. Do you have an estimate, Mrs. Hoffman? Linda Pierce looks like someone just pulled the floor out from under her. She wasn't ready to testify. She thought her role today was simple. Show up. Let the lawyers handle it. Sign whatever check is needed. Go home and pretend it never happened. Now she's walking to the witness stand with thousands of eyes, and one furious teenage son burning holes in her back. Your Honor, Brandon cuts in loudly. She doesn't need to talk. She wasn't even there that night. This is between me and the old lady. Judge Judy doesn't bother looking at him. Mr. Pierce, sit down and be quiet. You had your turn. I decide who speaks here, not you. The bailiff shifts closer to Brandon's chair, just in case. Brandon slams himself back into the seat with a loud huff. Arms crossed tight, jaw clenched out. Linda takes the oath with shaking hands. Her voice when she first speaks is barely above a whisper. Mrs. Pierce. Judge Judy begins, tone slightly softer but still razor sharp. Were you home the night of this party? No, Your Honor, Linda says. My husband and I were at a charity gala downtown. We didn't know the party had gotten out of hand until the police called us. Did your son have permission to host a party? Linda glances back at Brandon. His glare is pure warning. She swallows. We told him he could have a few friends over, she says slowly. We did not give him permission to host a large party with alcohol. We didn't authorize 40 unsupervised teenagers in our home. Judge Judy watches her closely. Is this the first time your son's behavior has caused problems for other people? The entire room seems to lean in. Even Brandon's friends stop fidgeting. Linda's fingers twist around her purse strap. You can actually see the conflict on her face. 17 years of instinct to protect him, crashing into the knowledge that protecting him is exactly what got them here. Brandon hisses under his breath, loud enough for those nearby. Mom, don't answer that. Judge Judy doesn't even turn her head. Mr. Pierce, I warned you. One more interruption and you'll be removed from this courtroom. Do you understand me? He clamps his mouth shut, but his eyes are burning holes through his mother. Linda inhales shakily. When she answers, her voice cracks. No, Your Honor, she says. This is not the first time. Judge Judy nods slowly. Explain? Linda looks down at her hands. When she speaks again, the words come in short, painful bursts. There was an incident at his private school. He and some friends broke into the headmaster's office and vandalized it. There were obscene messages on the walls, damage to the furniture. Brandon's face goes red. Mom, shut up, he growls. Judge Judy slams a hand on the bench. That is enough. Bailiff, if he speaks out of turn again, remove him. Linda continues, voice shaking. We paid for the damages. We hired an attorney. The school agreed not to press charges or expel him after my husband made a very large donation. She swallows hard. There was another time. He backed into our neighbor's car with his vehicle and just drove off. Never told us. We only found out when the neighbor came to our door days later, furious about the dent in his bumper. Did you make him take responsibility for that? Judge Judy asks. Linda's shoulders droop. We paid for the repairs. We told the neighbor Brandon would apologize. He never did. We didn't force it. Has he been sued before? Yes, Your Honor, twice. Her voice is barely audible. Once by the family of a boy he attacked at school. Once by a store owner after Brandon and his friends stole items as a prank. Both times, My husband settled quietly out of court, wrote checks, called people. Brandon explodes from his chair, voice ringing through the courtroom. What are you doing? He shouts at his mother. Why are you telling her this? This is private. You're literally trying to ruin my life. Sit down. Judge Judy barks. The bailiff steps forward, and Brandon slams back into the seat, fists clenched so tight his knuckles are white. Judge Judy turns back to Linda, her tone shifting even more. Less judge, more surgeon, carefully cutting to reach the truth. How does your son treat you at home, Mrs. Pierce? Linda's eyes fill instantly. Something inside her finally snaps. The words start pouring out like they've been trapped for years. He's cruel, she whispers. To me, to everyone. He ignores every rule we set. He curses at me. Calls me names I can't repeat here. When I try to discipline him, he laughs. He tells me I'm pathetic, that I don't understand anything, that I should just keep my mouth shut and let Dad handle everything. Tears spill down her face. But she doesn't stop. He throws things when he's angry. He's punched holes in walls. Last month, when I asked him to be home by midnight, he told me I was nothing but a credit card with legs, and that my job was to shut up and pay for stuff. The entire room is dead silent. Even Brandon looks stunned that she said it out loud. Judge Judy leans forward. Why do you think he feels comfortable talking to you this way, Mrs. Pierce? Linda stares at the floor, voice raw. Because we taught him he could. Every time he did something wrong, we fixed it with money. Every time there was a consequence coming, we stepped between him and it. We protected him from everything, including himself. Her voice gains a desperate edge. We gave him a $3,000 monthly allowance. No job, no responsibilities. We bought him a luxury car for his 16th birthday. Private tutors, vacations, anything he wanted, he got. And when he crashed that car while drunk last year, we just bought him a better one and paid off the property he damaged. Brandon is vibrating with rage now. Stop talking, he yells. You're insane. You're making stuff sound way worse than it is. This is defamation or something. When Dad hears enough, Judge Judy's shout cuts through his tantrum like a blade. One more word, Mr. Pierce, and you will be escorted out in handcuffs for contempt. He glares at her, chest heaving, but says nothing. Judge Judy looks back at Linda. Her voice is quieter now. Why are you telling me all of this today, Mrs. Pierce? Linda finally lifts her head and looks straight at her son. There's heartbreak in her eyes, but also something new steel. Because I'm scared of him, Your Honor, she says. I'm scared of the person we've helped him become. He has no empathy, no respect, no understanding that other people are real, that their feelings matter. When he destroyed Mrs. Hoffman's garden, he came home laughing. He told me she would cry over her stupid flowers and that my husband would write a check and make her shut up. Her next words land like a hammer. And 2 days ago, he told me that once this is over, he's throwing another party. He said, "What are you going to do, Mom? Call the cops on me?" And I realized, if something doesn't change now, if somebody doesn't stop us from protecting him with money, one day he's going to hurt someone in a way we can't pay our way out of. She turns back to Judge Judy, voice breaking but determined. So I'm done lying for him. I'm done hiding what he does. I love my son, Your Honor. But I'm begging you, don't let us buy him out of this. Don't let us do it again. Brandon stares at her like she's a stranger. I hate you, he says, voice low but venomous. You're dead to me for this. You hear me? Dead. The whole courtroom feels that sentence like a slap. Judge Judy doesn't flinch. She simply looks at him with an expression that's somewhere between disgust and pity, because now, finally, she has the full picture, and she's about to do something that no one in that family saw coming. Asterisk. For a long moment, Judge Judy doesn't speak. She just studies Brandon, really looks at him, the expensive clothes, the clenched jaw, the fury at being exposed, not for what he did to the garden, but for who he is at home. When she finally talks, her voice is steady. But there's fire underneath, and over 4 decades behind a bench, she says, I have seen selfishness, entitlement, and terrible parenting. But this combination, this perfect storm you've all created together, ranks near the top. She turns to Patricia first. Mrs. Hoffman, the legal part of this is simple. Your neighbor's son drove a vehicle through your property. He caused damage. You have clear evidence, a reasonable estimate, and even his own written admissions. You will get your $2,800. That part is not in dispute. Patricia nods, relief and sadness mingling on her face. Brandon opens his mouth to object, but Judge Judy cuts him off with a raised hand. Do not speak. You are in a deep enough hole already. She swivels back toward Linda. Double quotes Mrs. Pierce. You said your son gets a $3,000 monthly allowance. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, Linda replies, voice steady now. It was correct. It doesn't have to be anymore. Good, Judge Judy says sharply. Because as of this moment, that allowance is finished. Done. Over. Brandon's head snaps up. You can't do that. That's between me and my parents. I can't control what they choose to give you, she says, but I can strongly recommend, on record, that they stop funding their own destruction. And from what I've heard today, your mother is finally ready to listen. She looks back at Linda. Mrs. Pierce, do you agree to end all cash allowances immediately? Linda doesn't hesitate. Yes, Your Honor. Effective today. Asterisk Brandon's face moves from shock to raw panic. Mom, what the, you can't just, Mr. Pierce. Judge Judy barks. Silence. She leans forward, her gaze like a laser locking onto him. Here's how this is going to work, she says. You are 100% liable for the damage you caused. You will pay Mrs. Hoffman the full $2,800. Not your father. Not your mother. You. He snorts, trying to recover his bravado. With what? You just took away my money. Correct, she replies. Which means you will have to do something you have never done before in your life. Her next words hit him like a foreign language. You are going to get a job. The chuckles from the audience make his ears go red. What? He stammers. A job, she repeats. Employment. You will work for minimum wage, or whatever wage you can get, at whatever business is willing to hire you. You will show up on time. You will answer to a boss. And every cent you earn goes toward that $2,800 until it is paid in full. Do you understand me? This is ridiculous, he snaps. This isn't even legal. You can't force me to work. My dad's lawyers are going to. Her laugh is short and cold. Your father's lawyers are welcome to write me letters until their hands fall off. I am issuing a civil judgment for $2,800 against you personally. Your parents have agreed on the record to withhold all funds and privileges until that judgment is satisfied from your earnings. That is absolutely legal. She turns to Linda again. Mrs. Pierce, do you agree to hold back his car keys, credit cards, and any access to family money until he has paid this judgment himself? Yes, Your Honor, Linda says firmly. I agree. Brandon looks like he's about to lose control. You're both crazy. I'm not flipping burgers for some old lady's flower bed. Oh, we're not finished, Judge Judy says calmly. That's just the financial part, he blinks. What? You are also going to learn something about the old people you find so hysterical to mock. She straightens in her chair, voice ringing out. As a condition of this judgment, and with your mother's cooperation, you will complete 100 hours of community service at a senior center or assisted living facility. You will assist elderly residents. You will serve meals, clean up, help with activities, whatever the staff assigns you. You will listen to their stories. You will see their humanity. And perhaps, if there is anything decent still inside you, you will grow up a little. That's not enforceable. He blurts, you can't make me hang out with a bunch of old people. I'll just leave home. I don't need any of you. Judge Judy doesn't blink. You're 17. You don't get to just leave, and even if you did, without mommy and daddy's money behind you, you'd last about 3 days in the real world. She looks at Linda. Mrs. Pierce, I'm not your family therapist. I'm not your priest. But I am telling you, as a judge and as a mother, If you back down now, if you cave when he screams and threatens, you will lose him forever. Not to death, but to narcissism, to entitlement, to moral rot. Are you prepared to follow through even if he hates you for it? Tears glisten in Linda's eyes, but her jaw is set. Yes, Your Honor. I'm prepared. Brandon stares at her like he doesn't recognize her. You're choosing a bunch of strangers over your own son, he spits. You're done. Both of you are done. I swear to God, when Dad hears this, you're going to regret. Young man. Judge Judy interrupts, voice low and deadly. The only person who should be afraid of the future here is you. Because unless you change, your life will be one long series of courtrooms, settlements, and burned bridges. The only question is how many people you'll destroy on the way. She picks up her gavel, but pauses one last moment. Let me be crystal clear, judgment. For the plaintiff in the amount of $2,800, payable by the defendant from his own earnings, parents to enforce immediate termination of all financial privileges until judgment is satisfied, and 100 hours of community service at a senior facility are completed. Court is not your parents' checkbook, Mr. Pierce. It is your reality check. Case dismissed. The gavel cracks down like a gunshot. Brandon bolts up and storms out, already grabbing his phone. Through the closing doors, you can still hear his voice, shrill and furious, yelling into the receiver. Dad, you won't believe what Mom just did to me. But what happens after that gavel falls? That's where this story stops being just another courtroom clip and turns into a 6-month transformation. No one saw coming. Word of the case spreads before Brandon even gets home. The episode airs, clips hit social media, and within days, the internet has found its newest villain. Rich kid mocks Judge Judy and gets destroyed by his own mom. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. People replaying the moment he did that mocking impression, and then the exact second he realized he'd gone too far. At school, the luxury bubble he's lived in starts to crack. Parents forward the clip in group chats. Administrators hold emergency meetings. His prep school, always obsessed with image, sends a polite but pointed letter to the Pierce household. Brandon's conduct has reflected negatively on the institution, and continued enrollment is under review. His so-called friends, the ones who laughed in court, their parents don't find it funny. One by one, invites dry up. Messages go unread. The group chat that once worshipped his wild stories quietly kicks him out. At home, the new reality hits fast. The keys to his expensive car? Gone. Credit cards? Deactivated. Bank app? Zeroed out. The allowance he treated like oxygen? Cut off. For the first time in his life, Brandon is broke. There's a blow-up fight the first night, yelling, doors slamming, threats. He calls his father, demands he fix this. But even his father, furious at Linda for airing their dirty laundry, can't magically erase a televised court judgment. Just get a job and get it over with. His dad finally snaps over the phone. We're not paying this one. Not after you embarrassed us on national TV. So Brandon does something he has never done before. He prints a stack of resumes then, empty things with more attitude than experience, and walks into the real world. The fancy boutiques on the high-end street where his mother shops take one look at him, then another at the viral clip on their phones, and politely decline. We're not hiring right now. We'll keep your application on file. Translation, absolutely not. Asterisk, it's a small, fluorescent lit fast food restaurant a few miles away that finally says yes. Not because they don't recognize him, they do. The manager just shrugs and says, if you can show up on time and follow directions. I don't care what you did on TV, put on the uniform. The first day, Brandon nearly chokes on the smell of grease and cleaning chemicals. He hates the hat. He hates the customers. He hates that his manager talks to him like he's any other teenager who needs the money. He works an 8-hour shift, arms aching from scrubbing, feet sore from standing. When he gets his first paycheck, $340 after taxes, his stomach drops. He does the math. At this rate, it will take him more than 2 months of steady work, no missed shifts, to pay back what a single tantrum with a golf cart costs. Every hour he spends dropping fries and wiping tables. That number burns in his brain. 2,800. Every time someone barks orders at him, he remembers mocking Judge Judy's voice and wonders if this is how he sounded to her, entitled, unbearable, completely detached from reality. And then there's the other part of his sentence, the senior center, asterisk, if the fast food job insults his pride. The senior center terrifies it. The first day he walks in, clipboard in his hand, court papers signed by his mother. The staff already knows who he is. Some smile politely. Some don't bother to hide their disapproval. A few of the residents have seen the video. One woman in a wheelchair glares at him and mutters, "So this is the boy who thinks we're all jokes?" His assignment is simple but humbling. Push wheelchairs, help serve lunch, clear trays, play cards with people who take their time shuffling. Listen. At first, he does the bare minimum. He stares at his phone between tasks, rolling his eyes when someone needs help with something small. He avoids eye contact, but old people, real old people, not just some abstract old lady next door, are stubborn. One man in particular, Mr. Green, fixes his sharp eyes on Brandon and refuses to let him drift. "You the garden kid?" Mr. Green asks on day 3, his oxygen tube hissing softly. Brandon stiffens. "I guess." Asterisk, my wife had a garden once, the old man says, not waiting for permission. Cancer took her in 98, took the garden too. I tried to keep it alive, but some things you can't do alone. He pauses, studying Brandon's face. "You ever loved something enough to visit it every day?" He asks, then watch it disappear because someone who didn't care made a bad decision? Brandon doesn't answer, but the question stays with him. Day after day, story after story, the residents chip away at him without even trying. He hears about wars, lost spouses, children who don't visit anymore, jobs that broke their backs and never made them rich. People who built lives the hard way, one paycheck and one sacrifice at a time. Asterisk, he starts noticing things he never saw before. How long it takes Mrs. Alvarez, hands twisted with arthritis, to lift her cup. How proud Mr. Johnson is when he beats him at dominoes for the 3rd time in a row. How a simple walk to the garden behind the center makes Miss Carter light up like a kid. Garden. He walks her out one afternoon, moving slowly so her walker doesn't catch. The center's garden is nothing compared to Patricia Hoffman's old photos, just a few beds of simple flowers, a couple of bush, a lonely bench. But the way Miss Carter smiles at a single blooming rose, something twists in his chest. Asterisk, he remembers Patricia's destroyed yard. The way the photos look like before and after a storm. The way she held that manila folder like a piece of her heart. Weeks pass. He finishes his 100 hours. No one's counting down except him. By the end, though, something strange has happened. He knows their names now. Their routines. Their little jokes. Some of them know his too. Not as that rich kid, but as Brandon, the boy who reaches the top shelf for them. Who doesn't complain when Miss Patel wants to tell the same story about her wedding? For the 10th time, the last day he's scheduled to serve, he finds himself lingering instead of bolting for the door. Mr. Green catches him at the exit. "You paid your time?" The old man asks. "Yeah," Brandon says. 100 hours. "I'm done." Mr. Green looks at him for a long moment. "Are you?" The question hangs there. 6 months after that gavel dropped, a nervous, awkward teenager knocks on Patricia Hoffman's door. No cameras. No script. Just him. Patricia opens it cautiously. Her garden isn't what it once was, but new growth pushes through in places. Some stones have been reset. Some roses are gone forever. Brandon clears his throat. "Mrs. Hoffman," he says quietly, I finished paying the judgment. All of it, from my job." She nods. "I received the payments," she answers. "Thank you." He swallows hard. The practiced excuses, the sarcasm, none of it comes out. Instead, he manages something he has never really had to say sincerely before. I'm sorry," he says. "For your garden, for making fun of you, for all of it. I didn't get it before. I think I do now. At least a little." For a moment, she just studies him. Then she steps aside, "Come in," she says gently. "I'll show you what I've been able to save." He follows her out back, not as the kid who destroyed it, but as the one who now understands, painfully, how long it takes to rebuild something you ruined in a single night. His relationship with his mother is still rough. There are days he barely speaks to her. There are days she cries behind a closed door, wondering if she did the right thing. But slowly, very slowly, honesty starts to replace the lies. Boundaries replace blank checks, and that fast food job? He doesn't quit when the debt is paid. Not immediately. Because somewhere between the fry station and the senior center, Brandon has learned something Judge Judy said that day, and he'll never forget. Money can buy you comfort, but it will never buy you character. If this story hit you even a little, you already know what to do. Share it. Talk about it. Because entitlement doesn't fix itself. Sometimes it takes a garden, a courtroom, and a mother finally willing to say enough to turn a spoiled kid into someone who might actually become human. Tell me in the comments. Did Linda Pierce do the right thing by exposing her own son? And would you have the courage to do the same? Respect costs nothing. Disrespect, as Brandon Pierce learned the hard way, it can cost you everything.